He never failed me yet. Never will. I say so. Can't turn around. We come this far by faith. I will trust in Yahweh. I will trust in Yahweh. Yes. I will trust in Yahweh. Until I die. Yeah. Until I die. All right. I will trust in Yahweh until I die.
Shalom, shalom. Welcome to the Yahweh and Yahshua Speak television show. We are in part 2 of Do You Know the Truth? Let's go to 1 John, or 1 Yochanan, the 3rd chapter. 1 John, the 3rd chapter. Do you know the truth? In the truth, Yahweh teaches you what you are doing Satan's way. He opened your eyes to the fact that Satan is the Elohim or God of this world, and you are in ignorance, following him and doing his ways. So Yahweh wants you to know that you have been following Satan, and he tells you that because he wants you to stop.
Yes.
1 John 3, 1 John the 3rd chapter, and we want to read one verse, verse 8. 1 John 3, and let's read verse 8, please.
1 John chapter 3 and verse 8. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of Elohim was manifested, that he might destroy the works of the devil.
All right, so Yahweh is letting you know that Satan committed sin. And it says if you're following him, you're committing sin. He said the devil started this thing, which is an alternative way to doing things the way Yahweh wants them done. And he said that's why Yahshua came to the earth, so that he would destroy the devil's alternative lifestyle, alternative things that he does differently than Yahweh says. Let's go to Psalms 139. Psalms 139. So in the truth, Yahweh teaches you from the Bible that Satan invented another way of doing things,
Right.
which Yahweh calls sin.
Okay, got right.
So if you're doing things the way Satan does them, you're sinning.
Okay.
The English word sinneth that we saw in 1 John the 3rd chapter is a Greek word found in Blue Letter Bible number 264. Thayer's Greek lexicon defines sinneth as to be without a share, to miss the mark, to err, to be mistaken, to wander from the path of uprightness and honor, to do or go wrong, to wander from the law of Elohim, to violate Elohim's law. We're going to Psalms 139. Yahweh shows you that Satan lied to you.
Yes, he did.
You come to the truth.
Yes, he did.
He told you that you came up out of slime and you turned from a tadpole.
Okay.
You came from a big lake somewhere and you became a tadpole, then you became a snake, then you became a monkey, then you became a man.
Uh-huh.
But in the truth, Yahweh let you know that's a lie.
Yes, it is. Y'all right.
Psalms 139, and let's read verses 13 to 16, please.
Hallelujah.
Psalms 139 and verse 13. For thou hast possessed my reins, for thou hast covered me in my mother's womb. I will praise thee, verse 14, I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well.
Now, here is the psalmist saying he knows he didn't come out of slime somewhere.
I know, right?
He said that he's going to halal or praise Yahweh, for he's fearfully and wonderfully made.
Amen.
And that my nephesh, my personhood, my mind, yada, knows that Yamein right well. I know that beyond a shadow of a doubt.
Right.
All right, but that's this man talking. Most of the people don't know that.
I know,
All
right?
Let's read verses 15 to 16.
Verse 15, my substance was not hid from thee when I was made in secret and curiously wrought in the lowest part of the earth. Verse 16, thy eyes see my substance, yet being imperfect, and in thy book all my members were written, which in continuance were fashioned, when as yet there was none of them.
So he's talking about how the babe gets into the mother's womb and how the bones get formed and everything about the babe gets formed. And so Yahweh doesn't tell you that until you come to the truth and you study his word and then you believe what he said. Let's go to Isaiah, the 28th chapter. Isaiah or Yeshayah, the 28th chapter. So in the truth, Yahweh tells you the truth. That you went from a fearfully and wonderfully made man to the sinful, fallen man listening to Satan.
That's it. Y'all right.
Isaiah 28. As fallen man, you learn to do things Satan's way. And in the truth, Yahweh teaches you to do things his way.
Y'all right.
Isaiah 28, going to read one verse. Verse 8, please.
Hallelujah.
Isaiah chapter 28 and verse 8. For all tables are full of vomit and filthiness, so that there is no place to clean.
So Satan is laughing at people. It's like when you do things Satan's way, it's like you're sitting at a table that somebody threw up all over the table, and they're eating it. That's what people are doing. And we're in this season where last night they just did Halloween, but doing things Satan's way is sitting at a table full of throw up and eating it. Go to Colossians, the 2nd chapter. He's just looking at people because they're so stupid.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
Right.
But when you come to the truth, that should not be you.
Shouldn't be you anymore.
Colossians 2. And verse 8.
Hallelujah.
Colossians 2 and verse 8. Beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, after the tradition of men, after the rudiment of the world, and not after Mashiach.
So it's clear that there's a different philosophy here. Yahweh is saying, beware lest any man spoil you through philosophy. So Satan's way, philosophy or theorizing, doing it the way he thinks, or people doing it the way they think it should be done. He said you can be spoiled by that. Well, we were spoiled before we came to Yahweh. We did whatever we felt like doing. If we didn't feel like doing it, we didn't do it.
Right.
Once you come into the truth, Yahweh changes all that. You don't go by your feelings. You don't go by if you feel like doing it or you don't feel like doing it. You do what's right according to what Yahweh said.
Right.
He said he can spoil you through philosophy and vain deceit, making you think that you're doing something that's pleasing to Yahweh when you're not.
It's nothing.
It's after the tradition of men. So that's Satan's alternative way of doing things, which is sin. Things that men have made up, and after the rudiments or the principles of the world, and not after Mashiach, not after the Messiah. Let's go to Revelation, the 18th chapter. So in the truth, Yahweh shows you that Satan's philosophy or his way is always do what you feel like doing.
Right.
If you don't feel like doing it, all you have to do is look around. Don't do it.
I know, right?
Doesn't feel good, don't do it. He shows you Satan's sin of Halloween. Going to Revelation 18. Of wearing costumes and giving out candy. On Thanksgiving, of cooking turkey and dressing. On Christmas, of hanging up lights and decorating trees. On the Roman New Year, of cooking chitlins and kissing at midnight. On Easter Sunday, of dyeing Easter eggs, getting Easter baskets and new clothes to wear.
I know, right?
On barbecuing on Memorial Day, Labor Day, and July 4th. On throwing birthday parties for yourself on your birthday. These are all Satan's alternative ways to what Yahweh said to do. In the truth, Yahweh teaches you there's a big difference between his way and the way you have been doing, which is Satan's way.
Yes.
And And some people bristle up at him when Yahweh starts telling them, but you better not bristle up now, because Yahweh is going to be the one standing when all the dust settles.
Yes.
All right, Revelation 18, and let's start at verse 1. Yahweh is telling you now about this big difference between his way and the devil's way. And in the truth, you're going to learn Yahweh's way.
That's it.
Now, what you do after that is on you. But it'll go well with you if you decide to go along with Yahweh.
Just says Yahweh.
Do his way. Revelation 18, let's start at verse 1, please.
Praise Yahweh.
Revelation chapter 18 and verse 1. And after these things I saw another angel come down from heaven, having great power, and the earth was lightening with his glory.
Verse 2.
Verse 2, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon, the great is fallen, and is become the habitation of devils, and the hold of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird.
Now, what is he talking about? Babylon, he's talking about the world. He's talking about the devil's system and the way the devil has people doing things. He said, after these things I saw another Malach come down from Shemaiah, having great Mashal of power, and high air of the earth was lightened with his kabod of glory. Why? Because he had the glory of Yahweh on him. He was one of the righteous angels. And then he cried with a strong voice, and he said, Babylon the great is fallen. That's talking about this world system. That's talking about the way Satan has people doing things, alternate lifestyle. You notice today they have this thing, alternate lifestyle, or alternate this or alternate that. That's nothing but perpetuating what Satan started. Right? There's no alternate. There's one way. Yahweh tells us what the one way is. He said Babylon is fallen, it's become the habitation of devils, number one. Why? Because Satan is in charge of it. And the hold of every foul ruach or spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Well, you think, oh, birds are flying in there. No, he's talking about people. What are they hating? They're hating Yahweh. They're hating that Yahweh said, there's one way, and I'm going to tell you what it is. And then if you don't go this way, then there's consequences. People hate to be told the way that they are supposed to do things, the way that they should do things. All right? They want to do whatever they feel right, and they want it to turn out right, but it's not. It's not going to turn out right. All right, verse 3.
Verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
Now, so this is what we're going to find out when we read some of this stuff about Halloween and different ones. It's money.
That's it.
It's all about money.
Bottom line.
Making money. All right? And then spiritually, it's about keeping people deceived and appeasing their flesh, what feels good to them, and making them think they're having so much fun. And when you come to Yahweh, well, things just dry up and everything is so miserable. Again, that's an immature attitude, and that's an attitude that Yahweh's going to show us. He takes us through stages to bring us up out of that. It says, for all go we your nations have drunk of the wine, Yahin, of the wrath of her fornication. In other words, Hasatan is upset with Yahweh because he didn't accept that alternate lifestyle from him. First of all, he started it. He's upset. And then he's going talking and whispering to as many people, starting with the angels first. Now he's doing it with people as he can. It said, so that drunk of the wine is that alternate lifestyle. Doing things another way other than what Yahweh said. It said the kings of the earth. So he's got the heads of countries. Then if you get the head, then the people follow because they're looking at the head. Unless Yahweh wakes them up and gives them a different mind so they start thinking.
Which he wants to do.
But most people are just followers. Let one person do it. You drive a car and let one person drive on the shoulder of the road trying to beat the traffic. All of a sudden you see a line of people trying to drive on the shoulder of the road. He said, the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies, making all this money and taking holidays. All right? Verse 4.
Verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Verse 5.
Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and Elohim hath remembered her iniquities.
Now here's Yahweh letting you know, all right, the devil got this alternate lifestyle, which he calls sin. He said, and you were part of that. But now in the truth, Yahweh is blessing you. You're learning now what's Yahweh's and what's this sin lifestyle.
Right.
He said, heard another voice from Shemayim saying, come out of her, my people. Now he's talking to you and me. Those of us that have come to the truth and that are in the truth. Come out of her, my people. Come out of that alternate lifestyle, that you be not partakers of her hatah, her sins. That you receive not of her plagues. See, the wages of sin is what?
Death.
Not just the physical death, but the spiritual death, the lake of fire.
Right.
He said, because her sins, following this alternate lifestyle, has reached unto Shemayim, and Elohim the Mighty One hath remembered her iniquity, so she's going to be punished. And whoever is following the Babylonian ways, whoever is following and still doing, after you come to the truth, you have a certain period of time, because you can't learn everything at once.
Right.
But as Yahweh shows you different things, then you're supposed to be letting go of that stuff, because you understand you were tricked, you were deceived.
Yes.
You didn't realize that you were following Satan's lies.
Hallelujah.
So now you are in the truth.
Yes.
You're supposed to be doing the truth.
Yes.
So let's look at this article. It says it's from www.history.com. The history of Halloween. Ancient origins of Halloween. It says Halloween's origins date back to the ancient Celtic festival of Samhain. And the Celts were up in England, all right, the British. It says 2,000 years ago in the area that's now Ireland, the United Kingdom, northern France.
Right.
They celebrated their new year on November 1st. This day marked the end of summer and the harvest and the beginning of the dark, cold winter, a time of year that was often associated with human death. Celts believed that on the night before the new year, the boundary between the worlds of the living and the dead became blurred. On the night of October 31st, they celebrated Samhain, when it was believed that the ghosts of the dead returned to earth. And now Yahweh quickened me when I was reading this. Now, so they said their new year began on November 1st.
I know, right?
What are they doing celebrating it the night before on October 31st? That lets you know they understand how Yahweh started days, right? The evening and the morning. So that's how Halloween got to be on the night of the 31st. You understand? And so the Romans came in and tried to blur that and wipe that from other people's minds, but Yahweh brought it back to your mind.
Hallelujah.
Let you know the day starts the night before.
Right.
It says, in addition to causing trouble and damaging crops, the Celts thought that the presence of the otherworldly spirits made it easier for the Druids, which were their priests, to make predictions about the future. To commemorate the event, the Druids built huge sacred bonfires where the people gathered to burn crops and animals as sacrifices to their deities. They wore costumes, typically consisting of animal heads and skins. And I remember growing up in Evanston, when we were in elementary school, they would have the bonfires. And we would go and be looking. We didn't know what it was, but we used to always wonder, why are they burning bonfires in the middle of because that's what was part of the Halloween thing.
Yep.
All right? Now, did you know 1/4 of all the candy sold annually in the U.S. is purchased for Halloween? Yes. There it is, just what we read in Revelation. The merchants getting rich. It says by 43 AD, the Roman Empire had conquered the majority of the Celtic territory. So they combined this with two of their festivals. The Roman origin were combined with the traditional Celtic celebration of Samhain. The first one was Feralia, a day in late October when the Romans commemorated the passing of the dead. You see how I still keep dealing with the dead, the dead. The second day was a day to honor Pomona, the Roman goddess of fruit and trees. The symbol of Pomona is the apple. It probably explains the tradition of bobbing for apples that's practiced today on Halloween.
Right, right.
Remember, we did that as children growing up in these Gentile neighborhoods. You understand? There were advantages to growing up in the Gentile neighborhood, but there were also disadvantages because we learned those European ways. All right? Ancient origins of Halloween. Halloween comes to America as the beliefs and customs of different European ethnic groups and the American Indians meshed. A distinctly American version of Halloween began to emerge. The first celebrations included quote-unquote play parties, which were public events held to celebrate the harvest. Neighbors would share stories of the dead, tell each other's fortunes, dance, and sing. Now he says, did you know more people, especially millennials, are buying costumes for their pets?
Yeah.
20% did so in 2018, up from 16% in 2017. Says by the middle of the 19th century, annual autumn festivities were common, but Halloween was not yet celebrated everywhere in the country, in the U.S. When millions of Irish fleeing the Irish potato famine came, they helped to popularize the celebration of the Halloween nationally. Why? Because they're the ones that started it.
Right.
Okay. History of trick-or-treating. See, when I say trick-or-treating, everybody, oh, you know all about that, right? Even before I read it. Why? Because we learned all about these pagan customs. Satan's sin. Borrowing from European traditions, Americans began to dress up in costumes and go house to house asking for food or money, a practice that eventually became today's trick or treat tradition. And I saw some children last night coming home, and they had big old winter coats on, but they still had the little, costumes and stuff up under, so it didn't stop the parents from taking them house to house. Halloween parties for both children and adults became the most common way to celebrate the day. And so I know of some adults that dress up and actually have their Halloween party. Halloween parties. Americans spend an estimated $6 billion annually on Halloween. Making it the country's second largest commercial holiday after what? Christmas. Well, we read in Revelation, see, Yahweh told you that long time ago. All right, so that's why they don't want you to stop celebrating it.
I know, right?
You to tell anybody else to stop doing it. All Souls Day and soul cakes. Poor citizens would beg for food, and families would give them pastries called quote-unquote soul cakes in return for their promise to pray for the family's dead relatives. Why? Dead knows nothing.
I know, right?
But again, that's a Catholic tradition, but it started with the Irish and with the British and with the Europeans way back when. The distribution of soul cakes was encouraged by the church as a way to replace the ancient practice of leaving food and wine for roaming spirits. The practice was referred to as, quote-unquote, going a-souling. All right, black cats and ghosts. It began as a Celtic end-of-summer festival during which people felt especially close to deceased relatives and friends. And I remember there was a brother that came after Micaiah passed, and then he was saying, yeah, so when you go visit, Micaiah's grave, let me know and I'll go with you. I said, that's not going to happen. I'm never going over there. Said, until it's my time, I'll be laid to rest to him.
Head knows nothing.
And I just told him, what am I going to go over there for? All right, but again, he came from some of these traditions.
That's right.
All right, focused on the dead. It says, for these friendly spirits, they set places at the dinner table, left treats on doorsteps and along the side of the road, and lit candles to help loved ones find their way back to the spirit world. Now it says people avoid crossing paths with black cats, afraid they might bring bad luck.
Right.
This idea has its roots in the Middle Ages, where many people believed that witches avoided detection by turning themselves into black cats. They try not to walk under ladders for the same reason. And they said, but this came from the Egyptians, who believed that triangles were sacred. That's why they built all their tombs as pyramids. Then, they say around Halloween especially, people try to avoid breaking mirrors, stepping on cracks in the road, and spilling salt. I remember we as children, walking to school, what's that, step on the crack, break your mother's back?
Yeah.
All of that came from Halloween, that European tradition. Okay, so, let's go to Matthew, the 7th chapter. So Yahweh teaches you He has another way.
Yes, He does.
Matthew 7. And once you learn His way, it's on you.
Yep.
He's not going to force you to do His way.
No, He's not.
Matthew 7, going to read one verse. He's just going to tell you what it is. He's going to let you know that it would please Him if you would do His way. He said, if you love me, you'll keep my commandments.
Yeah.
So if you don't keep His commandments,
Huh.
what is it? You don't love Him. Straight up, you don't love Him. Amen. Doesn't matter what you say.
Right.
Matthew 7 and verse 14.
Hallelujah.
Matthew 7, in verse 14. Because straight is the gate, and narrow is the way, which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it.
So this is Yahweh's way. He says it's straight and it's narrow, but it does lead to life. It does lead to everlasting life.
Yes, it does.
But he said there's few that find it. And there's some that find it and don't want it. There's some that find it and think they can still choose Satan's alternate lifestyle.
Right.
It doesn't happen that way.
No, it doesn't.
Go to Jeremiah 31. There's few that find it. So you better appreciate your blessed place that haven't found it, and do everything you can to protect it.
That's it.
Jeremiah 31. So your love and respect for Yahweh determines whether you will do it His way.
Right.
If you don't love Yahweh, if you don't respect Him, you won't do it His way. It's very simple. In the truth, as you study the Bible, Yahweh teaches you what stage you are in doing Satan's way.
Right.
And that's a thing that some people don't understand. Yahweh kind of puts up a mirror in front of you so you can see yourself. See, in the world, we've been taught to look at everybody else.
Right.
But Yahweh puts the mirror right in front of me so I can see myself. And what I'm doing that's Satan's way, that alternative lifestyle. He puts the mirror in front of you and does the same thing.
Yes, He does.
And He doesn't show us the same things about ourselves at the same time. But trust Yahweh, He will show you everything you need to be shown.
Yes, He will. Yes, He has.
You don't need any person standing over you telling you what you need to do or what you're not to do.
Hallelujah.
So we're in Jeremiah 31. So Yahweh shows you the stages that you need to go through to stop doing Satan's alternate lifestyle and to start doing His straight and narrow way. All right, Jeremiah 31 and verse 19.
Hallelujah.
Jeremiah chapter 31 and verse 19. Surely, after that I was turned, I repented. And after that I was instructed, I smote upon my thigh. I was ashamed, yea, even confounded, because I did bear the reproach of my youth.
Now, here's somebody that's got potential. Here's somebody that Yahweh can work with. Here's somebody that Yahweh can teach and bring along. He says, surely after that I was turned, after Yahweh called me into the truth, I repented. Repent doesn't just mean standing up saying you're sorry. Repent means when Yahweh shows you, hey, that's Satan's way of doing things, then you do it the way He says to do it. That's repent. You have some action behind it. See, in this world, Satan got this lie out here, as long as you say you're sorry, well, hey, you can say you're sorry 50 times. Yahweh said, we forgive you, but at the same time, we don't trust you.
Right.
Because your word doesn't mean anything.
Actions.
Surely, after that, I was turned. After I got called into the truth, I repented. I started doing things another way as Yahweh showed them to me. After I was musar or instructed. That's what you're being now, instructed. All right, you just found out something about Halloween. And each year you may find out a little bit more about it. But you know it's definitely not from Yahweh. All right? It said, after I was instructed, I smote upon my thigh like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. Well, you were spiritually dead. Of course you did. You didn't know any better.
All right.
He said, I was ashamed. So as Yahweh puts that mirror in front of me and in front of you, there's some things you're going to look at and realize, oh, wow, I stole that. Oh, wow, I did that. You're going to be ashamed about it. But guess what? It's covered under Yahshua's blood.
Ashamed not to do it again.
That's in the past. Your past sins are covered. All right? But had sense enough to be ashamed, so then you won't go do it again.
Right.
I remember when I went to college at Ibryi, and in the cafeteria, they had coat racks where they would hang the coats and stuff when you came in, and then you would go and find your table and sit, and there was a, big giant, cafeteria. I was in Champaign. And so then me and some of my friends decided, we can have us a new coat. So we'll just look and see what coats we like. And I got me a nice white fur rabbit coat. See, I spiritually did. I didn't realize it was unclean. Right. And got another coat. And then so all we would do is just come in, look at the door, and then take the coat. Hey. But so I'm ashamed of that now. I'm laughing, but it's like I'm just letting you know.
Right.
I'm thinking, oh, man, Yahweh, thank you. Thank you that's covered under Yahshua's blood.
Hallelujah.
All right? He said, yea, I was even confounded. How in the world I could do that? Because I did bear the reproach of my youth. All right? So if anybody going to come up in here acting like they never did anything,
I know, right?
If you didn't know Yahweh, you did some dumb stuff. Worse than I did, shopping, taking people's coats.
Yep.
All right? And I could go down the list, and you could go down the list too. All right? So don't come up in here acting like, oh, you Shalom did get out of here. All right? Go to John, the 21st chapter.
Praise be to the
So Yahweh shows you the stages that you need to go through to stop doing things Satan's way.
It's a process.
The first stage is a spectator. John, the 21st chapter. In the truth, the first stage you go through is being a spectator.
Okay.
John 21.
Hallelujah.
As a spectator, you look around temples and you watch what everybody else is doing.
I know, right?
John 21, let's read verses 20 to 22.
Hallelujah. John chapter 21 and verse 20. Then Peter, turning about, seeth the disciple whom Yahshua loved following, which also leaned on his breast at supper, and said, Master, which is he that betrayed thee? Verse 21. Peter, seeing him, saith to Yahshua, Master, and what shall this man do? Verse 22. Yahshua saith unto him, If I will that he tarry till I come, what is that to thee? Follow thou me.
So Yahshua checked Peter. He's like, wait, what you doing looking around seeing what other people doing and asking me what are they doing? I'm dealing with you one-on-one. All right? He said, his keeper turned about, sees the disciple that Yahshua loved, following. He was leaning on his breast at supper, and he says, hey, so who's going to betray you, Yahshua? And then he said unto Yahshua, okay, so what's this man doing? He's sitting next to you and all buddy. So what's he supposed to be doing? What's his job? All right? Find out what your job is. Quit being so busy trying to look to see what somebody else is. But that's what spectators do. When we first come in, that's what we do. We looking around and see what everybody else is doing. But Yahshua told him, hey, whatever I tell him to do, What's that to you?
Right.
Your job is to follow me. And he's telling me the same thing. Hey, what's that to, he telling you the same thing too?
Right.
What's that to you? All right, go to Matthew 23. As a spectator, you're blind to the things that need to change in you because you're so busy looking at everybody else. That's what spectators do. Matthew 23. You find fault with everybody instead of listening to Yahweh telling you what you need to change about yourself. See, that's easier to do than listen to Yahweh telling you, hey, you know what, you need to work on this.
Hallelujah.
It's easy to point all those fingers at everybody else, but you waste a whole lot of time. You'll be a spectator a long time.
I know, right?
Matthew 23, let's read verses 1 to 4, please.
Hallelujah.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse 1. Then spake Yahshua to the multitude and to his disciples. Verse 2, saying, the scribe and the Pharisee sit in Moshe's seat. Verse 3, all therefore whatsoever they bid you observe, that observe and do. But do not ye after their works, for they say and do not.
Now here you got it. Yahshua is teaching them something now.
Right.
Yahweh is teaching them how to stop being a spectator. He said, Yahshua said to the multitude and to his disciplined ones, and to the ones that were in the truth. All right? Said the scribes and the Pharisees sit in Moshe's seat. They have the credentials.
Right.
But it says they're telling you to do something. And he said, okay, they're telling you right, but they're not doing it.
Right.
So we don't want to be running up to somebody. I remember years ago, this person going to run up to this lady when she came to the temple and tell her about, yeah, so you got to do this on the Shabbat and this on the Shabbat. And talk to her for about half an hour talking about what she had to do on the Shabbat. And I'm thinking, you're not even doing it.
I know, right?
So we shouldn't be telling anybody to do something that we're not doing. That makes you a hypocrite.
That right?
All right, that makes you a spectator. All right, he said, but listen, they're telling you right, but I want you to know they're not doing it.
Right.
I want you to understand they're a spectator. All right, verse 4.
Verse 4, for they bind heavy burdens and grievous to be borne, and lay them on men's shoulders, but they themselves would not move them with one of their fingers.
So can't they come up with all these different criteria about what you're supposed to be doing, how you're supposed to be doing it, and how, well, you didn't quite do that right, you need to do that a little more. Look, what does it matter as long as they get it done for Yahweh? The world calls it micromanaging, but Yahweh calls it being a spectator. When Yahweh has somebody put on to do a task, as long as they do it and it's legal,
that's right.
Why would you get in there and try to micromanage and make them to do it a certain way? I was reading something somewhere where this mother told her child to vacuum their room or something. And then he went and got the dust buster, you know, that little handheld thing.
Yeah.
And then the mother went in there going off and, oh no, you need to. And so the pastor got on her. He said, well, what difference does it make as long as he doesn't? But see, that's a spectator. And so that's why Yahweh brings us through that.
Hallelujah.
All right, go to Matthew 7. Matthew's the 7th chapter. So as a spectator, you can become a master at telling people what they should do. And you make sure you stay in the best spot to see what everybody else is doing. That's a spectator. Now, we all pass through that phase. So don't feel guilty. We all pass through it.
Yeah.
We all feel ashamed when Yahweh starts showing us what we did before we came to Him.
You're supposed to.
And then we kind of feel that shame, which is that's our pride leaving.
Yep.
See, shame is pride.
That's it.
And so once Yahweh gets all the pride out of you, then He can work with you more and more. All right? Okay, Matthew 7 and 1 verse 5.
Hallelujah.
Matthew chapter 7 and verse 5. Thou hypocrite, first cast out the beam out of thy own eye, and then shalt thou see clearly to cast out the mote out of thy brother's eye.
And so as a spectator, they're so busy looking at everybody else
Right.
that they can't see clearly
No,
what's
they
going
cannot.
on with everybody else. And plus, Yahweh didn't set us up to do that.
No, he did not.
All right? He already has Ruach HaKodesh. He already has Yahshua. He already has himself. Well, he needs you to be picking and pointing out what's going on with somebody. He doesn't. All right? He needs you to be picking on yourself
All
and
right.
pointing out what's going on with you. Go to Mark, the 4th chapter. So you go from a spectator to a fan. And you know when people have those games and things, and they, do the wave, and so you go from being a spectator looking around to being a fan.
Hallelujah.
Mark the 4th chapter. So as a fan, you look for emotional highs at the temple. You show up on Passover and Atonement when you think it will make you feel good. Mark 4. And if you think it's not going to make you feel good, you're not going to show up.
Right.
That's what a lot of people are doing right now.
Right.
Mark 4, verse 16, please.
Hallelujah.
Mark chapter 4 and verse 16. And these are they likewise, which are sown on stony ground, who, when they have heard the word, immediately receive it with gladness.
So, they just talking about, I'm so excited about, I just love my temple. I just love hearing the word. It's just so wonderful. I'm just so glad Yahweh called me. And if you see him once every 3 months, you understand? That's a fan. That's somebody that, woo, and they all get up on stage, woo. All right? Fans may show up more if they grow a little spiritually. Go to Matthew 13th chapter. They may show up a little more when they grow a little more spiritually.
Yep.
But you can tell when they're in the fan stage.
Yep.
They just come to the temple, they just bubbling, when they come once every 3 months, they're just bubbling over like, just love it, Yahweh, just so excited. Matthew 13, let's read verses 20 and 21.
Hallelujah.
Matthew chapter 13 and verse 20. But he that received the seed into stony places, the same is he that heareth the word, and anon with joy receive it. Verse 21. Yet hath he not root in himself, but dureth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended.
So it doesn't take much for fans to let go of Yahweh. Whoa, hey, what's the word? The thrill is gone. Hey, any little thing can take the thrill away.
Right.
All right, because that's what they're all into, feelings. And hey, if it doesn't feel good, they're like, whoa, Yahweh's not here anymore. Yahweh not. It said, he received the seed. It was in a stony place anyway.
Right.
It says, he received it with joy, just bubbling over, but he has no root. He just does it for just a little while. Because if anything comes against it, hey, he said, okay, you know what?
Right. It ain't moving.
It's not moving me like it used to. Go to Matthew 23. So, you go from a fan to a bench sitter. Bench sitter. As a bench sitter, you put your name on the temple roster, but you don't participate in what the temple does. Matthew 23. Your name is on the roll, but it's not doing anything but just sitting there on the paper. But if the crowd is big enough, you volunteer so you can get some attention. That's what bench sitters do. They're ready to get some attention. They get involved long enough to get the attention, then they step back and they stop participating until they see another chance to get some attention.
Right.
Matthew 23 and verse 5. Bench sitters.
Matthew chapter 23 and verse 5. But all their works they do for to be seen of men. They make broad their phylacteries and enlarge the borders of their garments.
You can tell these people, because if anybody at the temple comes new to the temple, they want to make sure that the people sees them, or they speak up, or they say something. You understand? Those are bench sitters. Said all, not just part of them, all of them. What work are we supposed to be doing for Yahweh? What's the purpose of that work? To do it for Yahweh.
Right.
It's not so you can look at me
I
up here
know,
on
right?
TV.
All right.
It's not so you can look at yourself up here singing.
Right.
He said, but all their works they do to be seen of men.
Okay.
They put on these big long fringes and they put on this other stuff, and they doing it just to be seen of men, just for men to look at them like they're so deep or they're so.
Right.
There are people that dress a certain way, and they think that that's just. I remember there was a brother that came, dear brother, and this brother that was here didn't realize that Micaiah and he and I were friends. And he walked in the temple, he had some nice garb, you know, that he got in Jerusalem, and had a long flowing, beautiful garment. And then this other brother, I thought he was going to eat the man.
I know, right?
He just like, because he had seen the brother, he's got a nice website on YouTube.
Yeah.
I thought it was embarrassing. I thought he was going to eat it. And he just went up there just like, I said, is he going to hurt it? He just touching the clothes, and it was funny. Go to James, the 4th chapter. So as a bench sitter, you're more excited about events outside the temple than inside, including the holy days.
Okay.
You make sure whatever's happening at the temple does not interfere with what you want to do outside the temple.
Okay.
That's a bench sitter. You swoop in and you swoop out. James, the 4th chapter. And I'm sure Yahweh's bringing some vivid pictures to your mind.
Oh yeah.
Now you know, the fan, the bench sitter, the spectator. James 4, 1 verse and verse 17.
Praise Yahweh.
James chapter 4 verse 17. Therefore, to him that knoweth to do good, and doeth it not, to him it is sin.
No, that's it.
Amen.
If you don't know it, you can't do it. But once you've been in this word, and Yahweh's shown it to you enough time, he knows when you know.
Amen.
Now, I don't know when you know.
Right.
He knows when you know.
Yep.
So, you may be able to put a little something over on me, but you shouldn't be concerned about putting anything over on me
right?
or any other human being.
Right.
That shouldn't be your focus. He said, the one that Yada know to do Toba or good and doesn't do it, to him, he's doing things Satan's way.
Right.
Remember, Satan is the alternative lifestyle person.
Right.
Yahweh calls it sin, doing things another way other than what he said.
Right.
Go to Hebrews, the 5th chapter. So you go from a bench sitter to a lone ranger. Hebrews 5. As a lone ranger, you want control. You visit a bunch of temples, but you do not commit to any of them.
Right.
Hebrews 5. You take notebooks full of notes, but you do not become part of any of the teaching staff at that temple. Why? Because you want control. And there are people that get on the phone and teach lessons and different things among each other. These people these Lone Ranger people.
Right.
But you think they would come and stand up at a temple to help the body?
Right.
No, this is about them. Hey, it's about them being a Lone Ranger and doing it the way they want to do it.
Right.
Forget about building up the body. Hebrews 5, 1 verse 12.
Hallelujah.
Hebrews chapter 5 and verse 12. For the time ye ought to be teachers, ye have need that one teach you again, which be the first principles of the oracles of Elohim, and are become such as have need of milk and not of strong meat.
Now you see Yahweh, he says, eventually, in the process of time, in the process of Yahweh taking you through those stages, and you letting go of doing things Satan's way, he said there's supposed to come a time when you're supposed to be a teacher. You're supposed to be standing up teaching people things.
Praise the mighty Yah.
And he'll let you know when you're ready.
All right.
And it doesn't have to do with so much the passage of time. It depends on what you have been doing one-on-one with Yahweh and letting Him prepare you.
Hallelujah.
But you're not supposed to be in this thing 20 or 30 years and not standing up and teaching.
Okay.
In the time you ought to be. That's the procedure. That's the process.
Right.
You ought to be teachers. He said, something happened. You're backward.
Uh-huh.
You had need that somebody teach you again. The kindergarten stuff. What
Right.
happened?
Right.
You still circulating from the spectator to the fan to the
Yeah.
you still swooping in and swooping out. Why? What are you doing?
Right.
If I'm doing that, I got to look at myself. All right? And I got to understand, Yahweh expects me to be a teacher and not have need that somebody teach you again the first principles of the laws of Yahweh. And then you need milk and not strong meat. And I don't know about you, but it's not too many things worse than some big old person acting like they're helpless and can't.
I know, right?
I mean, I remember years ago, I was listening to a lesson that Price had, and he was talking about there was a young man, I think he was maybe 17 or 18, and he was talking to him, and he said he had taken a vow of poverty. And he looked at the man, he all big and fat, and he said he was taller than him.
Right.
And then he wanted to know, you done took a vow of poverty. Who's feeding your big self?
Right.
He laying up on his mama.
Right.
Talking about he took a vow of poverty. Like, how you going to take a vow of, well, then you ought to be skinny as a rail, right? All right, Hebrews, the 2nd chapter. So as a Lone Ranger, you are preoccupied with the faults you think you see in everybody else at the temples you visit.
Right.
Yeah, you can tell other people all about themselves. What you think you found out is wrong. Hebrews 2 and verse 3.
Hallelujah.
Hebrews chapter 2 and verse 3. How shall we escape if we neglect so great salvation, which at the first began to be spoken by the Master, and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him?
All right, so he's talking about neglect, to where when Yahweh is showing you the big difference between his way and Satan's way, how you think you're going to escape? If you neglect, if you don't make that choice, and continue making that choice. And it's just not a choice you make one time, it's a daily thing, and multiple times a day. He said if you neglect so great salvation, if you don't convert the opportunity that you've been given, being called into the truth. Says it began at the first to be spoken by Yahweh and was confirmed unto us by them that heard him. We're confirming that we are in the truth.
Yes, we are.
If we sit down and go to lunch with a friend of ours and they order a plate of pork chops, we confirm that we're in the truth. We don't want any of that.
Right.
And we might not even want to sit at the table with them to watch them eat it, because we understand that it's harming them. We understand we're not going to watch them do that.
Right.
But Yahweh called you into the truth, and now you confirm it by what you hear and by what you do in the truth.
Right.
Go to Hebrews, the 10th chapter. So, Lone Ranger. A Lone Ranger visits temples to see what Yahweh is doing so they can get ideas.
I know, right?
Why? The purpose is so they can have their own Bible study.
Yeah.
Whether they get on the phone and talk the Bible, or whether they conduct it at their their homes.
Right.
Yep, they hold their own Bible study separate from any other temples that they visit. No, they don't want to do that input and put it into the temple. Why? Because they're not about helping the body.
Right.
They're about getting some kind of credit for themselves.
Yep.
Hebrews 10, and let's read verses 24 to 25.
Hallelujah.
Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 24. And let us consider one another to provoke unto love and to good works. Verse 25. For not forsaking the assembly of ourselves together, as the manner of some is, but exhorting one another, and so much the more, as ye see the day approaching.
All right? So, coming together like Yahweh said, doing things His way, He said, you're considering one another.
Right.
Provoking one another to love and to told works.
That's it.
That's why we assemble at the temple.
That's it.
Because that makes everybody else, that uplifts everybody else.
That's it.
That lets them know, oh boy, it's exciting. I'm going to see this one on the Shabbat. I'm going to see that one on the Shabbat. We're going to have a good time because we're here together. Provoking one another to love and to good works.
That's it.
And saying, we're not of those that forsake the assembling of ourselves
Nope.
together like a lone ranger.
Nope.
Why? Because we're not looking for anything for ourselves
Right.
to be lifted up.
Right,
We're looking
right.
to lift up Yahweh's people, and plus, His way is to come together
That's
as
right.
a body.
That right?
He has no lone rangers.
Nope.
All right, go to Matthew 13. So the Lone Ranger stage is where many get stuck doing Satan's way.
I
Why?
know,
Because
right?
they like it. They like it. 'Cause they don't have to be accountable to anybody, not even Yahweh.
Right.
So you go from a Lone Ranger to a player on Yahweh's field.
Hallelujah.
Matthew 13. And a player on Yahweh's field actively serves him at one temple.
Hallelujah. Yah-rah-rah, tell like it is.
All
man.
these
No.
other people, it's just the immature stages that you pass through.
Right.
Now you finally, Yahweh, like, okay, now they let me groom them and I got them to the point.
Hallelujah.
Now we can start getting somewhere.
Yeah.
But you had to get up all that stuff up out of you
Yeah,
first. All right, Matthew 13 and verse 38.
Hallelujah.
Matthew chapter
Praise Him.
13 and verse 38. The field is the world, the good seed are the children of the kingdom,
Yes.
but the tares are the children of the wicked one.
Now, all right, so being a player on Yahweh's field, it says, hey, actively serving him at one specific temple. The field is the world.
Right.
That's where we are.
Yep.
Right? So now look at yourself. What are you doing?
That's it.
Are you doing something active at one temple? Or you swooping into a temple and swooping out? Or are you coming in and, trying to get your feel-good moment? And
Right.
You understand? The field is the world.
Yep.
The told seed are the band of the children of Hamalkuth or the kingdom.
Yeah.
The tares are the children of the wicked one.
That's it.
All right, they're the ones that swooping in, swooping out. They're the ones that going from temple to
He
temple.
never failed me yet. I say so. Can't turn around. We come to fight by faith. I will trust in Yahweh. I will trust in Yahweh. I will trust in Yahweh. Until I die.
Yeah.
Until I die.
Right.
I will trust in Yahweh. Until I die.